The first day of padded practice is officially in the books. And if you were hopeful that the 49ers nailed the draft, we've got good news. What is good, everybody? Welcome to another Gold Standard podcast on the Gold Standard Podcast Network, part of the Pro Football Insiders. I'm Rob Stats Guerrero alongside Vish Kumar, and it is Monday, July 28th. Vish, they're in pads, baby. We made it.
Yeah, this offseason flew by, for me at least. Maybe for other people it was slow. This was one of the fastest off seasons for me. I was pretty excited about it, and I'm glad they're back. Padded practice, Rob. Time for the 49ers reporters to disagree about what happened 200 feet away from them.
Well, it doesn't seem like there's much disagreement, at least on so far, on the first padded practice. The reviews for Mykel Williams and CJ West, specifically among the rookies, are all good, seemingly. Everybody seems to be in agreement that those two guys specifically look like the real deal.
Yeah, and I think and I don't want to disrespect CJ West, but I think he looks the part for the kind of player that people expected him to be. But I want to focus more on Mykel Williams. I think that's the more impressive one. Rob, we talked before the draft about physical prototype, physical prototype, physical prototype. And there was a specific position that the 49ers needed to target a physical prototype. And they did both of those things from a premier school. So this was a high floor, like we're not missing this pick kind of player. And for him to walk out of camp and for people to talk about what he looks like physically and how he's physically overwhelming and how strong he is, and these are the types of things people are saying, that's really exciting because that means he is as advertised. And what advertised means is they got a player that was talented enough to be the 11th overall pick. And that's not always the case, right? You see a Solomon Thomas early in training camp, not to be the bearer of bad news, but he may not look as talented as what you thought he was going to be on an NFL field. Mykel Williams certainly seems to have checked the box in terms of looking the part for what a 20-year-old supremely talented top 15 pass rusher looks like. Now it's really exciting because I think we get to see his game grow over the course of the season.
Now, what I have said is it's not about any one day of camp. It is about the growth that these players go through throughout the entirety of training camp. And if you're watching the stream, you could see some right now, courtesy of Brad Graham. But I put it like this on Twitter earlier today, Vish. Not everybody that has a great day, one practice of camp, ends up being a great player. But the truly special players pop right away first practice, right? Not everybody that does is going to be great, but the truly special guys, you're like, yep, that guy can play. And I'm not saying that Mykel Williams and CJ West are going to be those guys, but I'm saying it sure as hell ain't bad that they got these reviews so far.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think we're a little ways away from that truly special label because usually that truly special label comes with a maturity in terms of just football instincts that's well above and beyond their age. The best example for the 49ers in this era is George Kittle, right? Vance McDonald was a tight end who got an extension and then they traded him in the middle of the offseason because not only was George Kittle physically the prototype for what they wanted as a tight end, he was absorbing the playbook, understanding the nuanced angles of the blocking scheme and all of these sorts of things like a veteran, to the point that the 49ers didn't want to persist with a veteran tight end who wasn't that old. He was a young, somewhat talented player, second round pick in Vance McDonald. And so we don't get the right football context with two defensive linemen to see all of those things, especially in a padded practice because they're not tackling the ground and all of that. But to see the physicality right away, I'm a big fan of, like, is the guy actually talented enough to be the 11th overall pick? And I kept saying, right, physical prototype. He has to be a certain size. He has to be a certain weight. He has to be all of those things. For him to check those boxes in terms of everybody saying, oh, he stands out physically, like that's the first round pick. And then on top of that, you get this cherry, which is that he's as athletic and as physically overwhelming as advertised. I think it's the most exciting thing. And then I think CJ West, Rob, was a player that a lot of people were predicting was going to take off just because of the skill set, right? Like the DJ Jones archetype. And it's good to see that he's doing well in one-on-ones because that's where I see his role, opportunities to get him right over the center and rush the passer. The bigger question with CJ West will be in the team drills, how he does covering the gaps as a run defender. And that is the bigger. But here it looks like he checks the box in terms of fulfilling the role he was drafted to.
I'll throw up what Nick Wagner said on X. He said, there was an obvious standout today, CJ West. I had West winning cleanly and mostly decisively in all 5 of his reps. He did it against a different bunch of offensive linemen, including Matt Hennessy, Zach Johnson, Drew Moss, and Connor Colby. Lest anyone think he only succeeded against backups, West's best rep might have been against Dominic Pooney. His strong hands knocked Pooney back quickly, and then he transitioned to a quick rip move with his hands to blow past for the win. It's way too early, but West looks like a good candidate to be a third down rusher inside next to Mykel Williams. And then as for Williams, he wrote, speaking of a pretty solid debut in his own right, he rushed from the edge and inside. My early read is that he's just a bit more comfortable pass rushing inside, but he's also powerful enough to push the pocket from the edge. Appears we lost Vish halfway through that. Sorry, I was reading the comment. I didn't see that. Let's listen to Robert Saleh talk about the rookies.
He's going to be a hell of a football player.
Okay, let's see if I can get that right again. Oh wait, Vish is back. Sorry, everybody. Technical difficulties. And by technical difficulties, I mean me being an idiot. All right, Vish, let's take a listen to Robert Saleh after today's practice talking about the rookies.
And Nick Martin's Mykel is he's going to be a hell of a football player. And Nick Martin's doing a really nice job. Upton's doing a nice job. There's some young guys. CJ West is doing a really nice job. They're all the way across the board. Siegel, he's getting his legs underneath him. Alfred Collins, they didn't get any OTA reps, so they're coming along. But it's a promising group. It's exciting to work with those guys. They're sponges. Every day is something new, and so they're doing a very nice job.
There were some subtle differences in the comments there, Vis. Did you notice? Mykel Williams, gonna be a hell of a player. Then he said, okay, well, this guy's doing a nice job. Like, I felt like there were degrees there in that answer from Robert Saleh, but great. The 11th overall pick's going to be a hell of a player. Who's upset about that?
Yeah, I think I agree. I think the focus, right, the highlight is everybody else was just coach talk. The Mykel Williams one was a little bit more than coach talk. Like, I can't hold my excitement. This guy's a really talented player. And that's exciting because they needed to nail that pick. And it looks right now very promising, especially in terms of the position and the role he's going to play.
There's one-on-one rep that people are talking about, which is, I think it was Mykel on Trent Williams. And I guess Mykel got on him a little bit and kind of kicked his ass. And people are like, well, does this mean Trent's falling off the cliff, or is Mykel Williams really good? And I'll say, look, it was one rep in one training camp practice, so I'm not going to say one way or the other. But on July 28th, I'm going to choose it means that Mykel Williams might be pretty good, as opposed to Trent Williams is falling off a cliff. We'll find out when they actually play. But right now, on July 28th, I'm choosing happiness, Vish.
Yeah, and the reality of it is that when the install starts getting deeper, the attrition of training camp increases. Like, it's a complete game changer, right? There's a lot of guys who flash the first week, flash right away when pads come on, and then you don't hear about them again for the rest of the offseason. And it's nothing to do with them, but it's just because it's so grueling. It's such a grind. It's a mental grind. It's a physical grind. And not everybody is capable of making it through that in and of itself. And so it's a long way to go. But you and I are part of a show that reacts to what's going on with this team every week. And right now, in this week, it looks really positive for all of the rookies, as well as what's going on in terms of a one-on-one rep versus Trent Williams. Winning that at any point, at any time in Trent Williams' career is a great thing. And so we get to react to that, and there's no way we're going to react to that negatively. But I do generally hesitate when I hear how kind of conclusive the conclusive conclusions. Wow, I'm just killing it with the wordplay today. how conclusive the conclusions can be from practice, especially after the first padded practice, because there's so much that happens
Yeah.
over the course of the offseason. And for me, the biggest things I focus on, especially at this point in the offseason, is the physical stuff. Like who looks the part, who looks like they've been working out every day, who looks like they've been eating right the entire offseason. Those are the things I think that will stand out for who's going to be equipped to be able to handle this season. And that's why, for me, especially on the Mykel Williams portion, I'm focusing on, well, yeah, he's as big as he's supposed to be. Oh, he looks really, really strong for a 20-year-old, those sorts of things, because those are the things that translate over the course of a season and an off season. I think making a play in practice, those sorts of things, that happens here and there for just about everybody that's participating in a training camp.
Boy, there's Vish just killing the buzz right there. But no, I understand it. We can take all of this with a grain of salt. Harold McAllister, thank you so much for the super chat. Harold says, did Saleh come back and draft his ass off? I think so. I'll just say this. So far, so good on Mykel Williams. Upton Stout is a guy that's been getting a lot of everybody says the same thing about Upton Stout. That guy's a dog. Now, I think most of that has to do with just his personality. He seems very outgoing and very confident, and he's been making some plays at camp. You know, if they get into games and he's just getting the crap knocked out of him, he's not going to be a dog. But again, we're talking very, very early returns. I like it.
So Upton Stout, I don't have questions about that, Rob. The bigger question is, will his body hold up? But that guy's not going to get the crap kicked out of him. No freaking way. That guy's going to kick the crap out of whoever he's hitting. He's tough as hell. No doubt about Upton Stout. The one I have questions about is the BYU corner that they got, Jacob Robinson, who's the one they got, undrafted rookie, and he's created some buzz this offseason. Supposed to be a really, really good athlete, really, really good mover. Apparently ran 4.33 on his pro day. There's not too much information about Jacob Robinson about there. Anyway, he's flashed early in camp. For me, he's one I want to see over the course of the offseason if he's flashing, because he was supposed to be very slight, 170 pounds. That's what he was listed at when he played college. Now, this is not a guy I've watched a lot of, but when I see that and read about that and then hear that he's having somewhat success in terms of one-on-ones and coverage, in terms of pass breakups, can he tackle? It's the first question. This defense asks a lot of their corner a lot of the times to be the force player in terms of the run fits. They ask their corners to be physical out there on an island and tackle. Richard Sherman is one of the greatest tackling corners of all time, right? That's the hallmark corner prototype for this scheme. And so Upton Stout, no questions, but to me, the segue is the other corner that's a quote-unquote rookie that's impressed. I have a total question about him and whether he would be able to contribute in that area.
So Jacob Robinson reportedly ran a 4.3940, but he also got his weight all the way up to 181 pounds after playing the year at 170 pounds. So that was, I guess, something that people wanted to see about him. We'll wait and see. He's made some good plays. I've heard the same things you have about him. So there are so many things to watch, Vish. And how about this little, since we're riding high, we're riding the vibes today. How about this? We have football every Thursday night now through the end of the season. How about that? The first preseason game is Thursday.
That the Hall of Fame game?
Yes, we have football this week. How cool is that? My son is like, Dad, we got to watch it. I need football. He's 10 years old. He's like, Jones.
I watch it every year, and every year it's like, oh, it freaking sucks.
Yeah, you know what? I don't care, man. I miss it. I miss football. And you know what? I like hearing the good news. We heard so much crap coming out of camp last year about how down it was and everything. I like hearing all the good stuff. And one good thing I heard. Go ahead.
I was going to say, before you go to that good thing, right on what we're hearing, I like that it's just football. I like that we're hearing about one-on-ones and tackles and, plays, and we're only hearing about football in terms of what people talk about, what Shanahan talks about, what the players talk about. It's all football. It hasn't been that way since 2021 for the 49ers?
Yeah, pretty much. It's been a minute. That's for damn sure. I saw a cool tweet from Kyle Posey that pointed out the difference in the defensive line. That this year's defensive line is basically 2 inches taller and about 10 pounds heavier than last year's defensive line on average, with arms that are about 1.5 inches longer, again, on average. And I say that because I bring up this picture of Alfred Collins standing next to Kevin Givens. Kevin Givens is on the right, and he looks like a tiny man. He's been in the league for 7 years. And then you look at Alfred Collins on the left, and it's like a father and son picture. It's ridiculous how big Alfred Collins is.
Yeah, and they went back to that size, right? They lost it a little bit with losing Javon Kinlaw, losing Eric Armstead. Hargrave was supposed to be a little more of a niche signing for them by signing a smaller frame guy who was going to be a gap shooter for them. It was a little out of the realm of what they do. He was a biscuit of a signing. I thought he was going to be great too. So what do I know, right? So it's one of those things. But I think it's really, really cool to point out those physical dimensions, because the biggest and most important area where that's going to make a difference, hopefully, but on paper, theoretically, is in the run game. And that's where the 49ers needed to improve the most from last year to this year. It wasn't talked about enough. I felt like this offseason, their run defense was bad. Their run defense has been technically bad, I would say, for 1.5 years. It was bad the second half of 2023 as well, even as they went to the Super Bowl. And it was straight up just a bad run defense in 2024. Good teams in the NFL, right? They start from just being a good run defense, Robin. So it's very important. What were you going to say? Go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to bolster your point. They allowed 124 rush yards per game. I just wrote something for our YouTube channel members on the page this morning, actually. It's funny you bring it up. They were 18th in the NFL in rush yards allowed, 124 yards per game. They also allowed the second most rushing touchdowns in the entire league at 24. Only the Cowboys were worse at 25. So the 49ers were getting run over. They gave up more than 1,000 yards on the ground in their last 7 games last year. It was bad, and it was getting worse the longer the year went.
Right. And I love that you brought up the red zone stat, because to me, that was that and the third and short were the two numbers that were most indicative of how bad they were. Because it wasn't just the 124 yards a game, because you can take a team out of being able to run the football in a game. And when the 49ers are at their best, they go up 17-0 in the first quarter, and they take teams out of being able to run the football, and they rush the passer against them, which doesn't mean they have a good run defense. It just means that teams weren't able to run the football against them in that game. But the fact that situationally, when you get to the red zone and you're up close, and the easiest thing to do to score there is run the football. Like, man, if I can get 5 yards in the red zone or 4 yards to run the football, it changes the entire way and landscape of play calling. And versus the 49ers, especially these backs like James Conner and all of that, you give them the ball in the red zone, they had trouble tackling these guys. These guys get through the hole. They were scoring touchdowns. They were seeing the end zone, and they were scoring touchdowns against them. And then third and short, which is a stat that's existed for them horribly for 2 years in terms of where they've struggled situationally as a run defense. Again, you could be very predictable against them. You could feel like, yeah, even though they're stacking the box, we're going to run it. They know where they're going to run it. We can man on man. We can overpower them. We can be more physical than them. And so that's the point with the weight increase. And I think the other question will be in a guy who had a good practice, it seems like today, is D. Winters, Rob. Will he bring that sort of physicality? Haven't seen or read too much about Nick Martin, but it looks like D. Winters has been an early standout. It looks like he's been a guy that's been on the right workout regimen this offseason, put on some weight, looks fit, looks active, looks fast.
Yes, he looks everything. He looks the way the 49ers like expected him and wanted him to look. I think the question with D is always, can he stay healthy? Can he just stay on the field? He's always had a problem. He's talked a lot about changing his diet and changing some of his habits this offseason in an effort to try and keep his body in a place where he could just stay on the field. I mean, how many times did we see where he would go out, right, on one of the possessions? He'd get banged up, go out, and then he'd be out the rest of the possession. The next possession, he'd be back out there. It's like, well, we need you to play more than one in every 3 plays, D. Winters. But you're right. He has been getting rave reviews, great speed, sideline to sideline. I believe he had an interception today. It was either today or yesterday. But he has been getting a lot of love. I haven't seen too much about Nick Martin. You're right. Just checking. I'm checking Wagoner, and he said D. Winters had the hit of the day, dropping a shoulder on Isaac Guerrero. Winters also flashed his closing speed, later chasing down Guerrero on a sweep to the sideline, which is saying something because we know Guerrero's damn fast.
Yeah, and you know what I love about that, Rob, when they talk about D Winter's speed, I don't think it's changed in the last 2 years. Like I think he's more fit this offseason, right? That's been established. But I don't think it's the case that he wasn't this fast last offseason or the offseason before. The real reason it hasn't been highlighted in this fashion is I don't think he's been able to play this fast. And I think when I hear the word speed, when I hear the speed adjective now being thrown around, especially on a sweep play, it sounds like Winters is very aware of his role in this defense this year, and he's studied and he's comfortable this offseason after spending 2 different seasons, going through 2 different off seasons, being an NFL player, all of those things. And so he's just triggering in his role rather than thinking. And that's what's incorporated in him being so fast, because chasing down a sweep, those sorts of things as a linebacker, like Winters has always had the sideline to sideline ability to be able to do that sort of thing. The fact that he's actually done it, to me, means that he's very aware of his role and he's seeing things a lot quicker. And I felt like Nick Martin should start after this offseason because he's a 3rd round pick, Rob. That's what I was saying coming into this offseason. And so I'm very interested to see if Winters is playing this way. Maybe the 49ers have another young Alshire Greenlaw type development on right next to Warner, with 2-3 young guys that are coming on strong.
Andre Garibay, YouTube channel member, says the Niners usually make linebackers work. It's the corners and receivers that have question marks. You know, you mentioned something that leads me perfectly into what Robert Saleh talked about today. Bear with me because I didn't know that I was going to use this clip on the show, but since you talked about it, I think it makes perfect sense. So it's a little messy, but just listen to it. It's a little long. But I think what you're talking about with D Winters and his speed, he ran a 4.49. He's fast, but it's how fast can you use that speed? And I think that is maybe one of the biggest differences between Robert Saleh and Nick Sorensen. I think Saleh is going to break it down for these guys and just get them in a position where it's simple for them and they're not thinking as much. And part of the reason is because Saleh realized he screwed it up in 2019. He talked about this today with Fred Warner in 2019. Just listen to Saleh. It's a little long, but I think you'll get the point.
Fred was a tremendous learning experience for me. I always tell the story back in 2019. If you guys remember that defense was pretty damn good, and we had that Halloween game against Arizona on Thursday Night Football, and it was the first time we were playing Kyler Murray. And I feel like I personally, I take responsibility. I put an enormous amount of pressure on Fred in that game to make sure that we were in the right call, and I did not do him I did him a disservice because he was thinking the whole game and not playing. And so the learning experience for me, it's not about the call. It's not being in the right call. It's about making sure that the players can go fast as heck. And you know, so Fred was kind of that trigger where they all have a breaking point. Doesn't matter. And Fred is, I mean, he's like a computer smart, you know, and it's but at the same time, they still got to be able to do it within 20 seconds of getting a call and being able to react and play fast. So you're always trying to learn your players, and you're always cognizant of what that ceiling is, because you never want to sacrifice their ability to play fast just for the sake of being a guru as a play caller.
So I thought that was very interesting, that even the smartest guys with all the athletic ability in the world, they need to know what they're looking at and they need to be able to react without thinking about it. And that's what Robert Saleh might be able to do for a guy like D Winters.
And it's a great summation, right? Like for somebody like me who never played football, and my absolute like interest in football comes from a strategy standpoint and like mental standpoint. It's a good reminder that at the end of the day, football is 11 of the most incredible athletes the world has ever seen, using their athleticism first and foremost to do insane things, like take the strategy outside, take all the mental games, take all of that outside. At the end of the day, it's 11 just superheroes going up against each other, doing superhero things on any given play. And what Robert Saleh basically said is the first and most important thing is to give them an opportunity to be a superhero, not win the chess match on paper. And he's absolutely right.
And I think that his counterpart on the other side of the ball sometimes doesn't put enough weight behind that. Sometimes I think Kyle puts too much weight on the
I think it's easier to be that way on defense, though. I don't think it's a one-for-one comparison, right?
Yeah, I know what you're saying, but I like that Saleh. I don't know. I like his approach to the game. I have so much more confidence too that Robert Saleh is going to be able to right the ship.
I think look, Rob, I think there's one thing with Saleh that makes him always more comfortable for just the average human being than Kyle. And it's that Saleh grew up as a normal human being that got into football coaching. And so the way that Saleh communicates is always going to be that much more comfortable for us. And I think that's why I also, when I listened to Saleh, and I didn't want to interrupt the point, but I kind of knew where you were going with it. I also feel more
I don't think
comfortable.
you did.
Oh, okay, then go for it.
What I was going to say is I feel so much more confident in Robert Saleh to right the ship if the initial game plan goes wrong than Nick Sorensen was. I think
Oh,
Sorensen like kind of understood the defense a little because he had been there and he would come up with a plan. Maybe the plan was okay, but once teams started to adapt to what he did and figure stuff out, I don't think he knew what to do. And I think Saleh will.
yeah. Well, I'm gonna pull a Saleh and not a Sorensen right there, and let's write that ship because that was, whoo, I blew that one. Sorry, Rob.
It's all right. But yeah, I mean, in
But
terms of
yeah, totally agree. Like, no, they're not even in the same realm. Like, look at the way they communicate. Robert Saleh is just an expert tier communicator. And well, my point was going to be, even though you weren't going to go there, I'll take that out of your mouth and put it in my mouth. I do think Saleh is a better communicator than Kyle, but I think that's just their life experiences, right? Kyle might be a good communicator in a football sense, but we wouldn't understand that because we're not communicating with them in a football sense. And Saleh is great in terms of communicating through the media, and Kyle's okay.
yeah, Kyle's has the weirdest manner of speaking. Like he he doesn't have certain word. He doesn't use certain words that other people use. So sometimes
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
he comes up with like alternate phrasing that's a little
And he still kind of talks in more of like a, I'm around dudes all the time and we have a certain way of talking that like wears out, and like after a certain age people talk to people in a more formal way. Kyle hasn't really gotten that even at 43, and I just think that that's an establishment of his life experiences, right?
I think that he is a very clear communicator within the people that he needs to communicate with.
Mhm.
He does not
Mhm.
consider us part of that group. So he doesn't really care or work on it, which whatever. Like the more important thing is how he communicates with the team.
Right, exactly, exactly. And that's what I only meant through the media, right? Because in a
Yeah,
football sense, he must be a good communicator, but we don't interact with that, nor do we care about that. But
right.
through the media and only there, he's okay. And Saleh is, I mean, Saleh is great. Like Saleh, the way he even sets up his stories, he's interesting. Like he's really, really just good at talking. Like Saleh would be great on TV after he's done with this. Like he would be interesting. He would have points. Like Kyle wouldn't be good on TV. He'd be horrible. And
Oh,
that's not disrespectful, but maybe it is. I didn't mean it as in disrespect. It's just a credit to Saleh is just great at talking.
let's go back on the field. One other thing that Nick Wagner pointed out was that a theme in this camp has been the 49ers passing the ball to running backs, which of course I love
Yeah, duh.
because I was thinking about this, this morning, and it just we talk about the way we talk about quarterbacks, right? You get marks off if you check it down. You get marks off if you get a lot of yak. You get marks off if we just like we lower the rankings. We change the rankings, and we want quarterbacks to play a certain way. But when you watch quarterbacks play that the media supposedly quote unquote wants, it's almost exhausting. And the example that I bring up is Brock Purdy last year to start the year was playing the way everybody says great quarterbacks have to play. They weren't getting a lot of yak. He wasn't throwing the ball to running backs. He was chucking it deep down the field. And he was playing like that. And I don't know about you, Vish, but I felt like the offense, everything was just so hard. It just felt so difficult for them to even, gain a yard. And watching that as a fan, it was exhausting. I can't imagine what it was like for a player on the field. I want to see Brock Purdy throw it to the damn running back. If no one's on the running back and you got a free 5 yards, just pick it up and take it, man. Like,
And
why does it have to be so difficult?
I love that you made that point because most teams intend to play the way that you described, the second way, right? Like the intention is to play that way. Like even the best quarterbacks, the so-called ones that can succeed playing within the circumstance that you described through the entirety of the year, the Mahomes, the Allens, the few guys that would take a team and win 12 games even in that circumstance you described. They don't try to play that way one bit at all. Their teams don't try to play that way because it's not the most effective way to try and win. You don't want to put the game on your quarterback that way. You want to have the kind of quarterback that could win if the game is put on him that way. But ideally, you want to take the game away from that situation for the quarterback. And I love the point that you made because that's why the 49ers paid Brock Purdy. If you're Kyle Shanahan, you're not looking at the games that your quarterback has to play that way and evaluating Brock Purdy based on that. You are looking at it from the sense of, does he shit the bed in those situations? And he's not Garoppolo, right? Where he throws 3 picks in those situations. He succeeds to some extent. He struggles to some extent, like 95% of quarterbacks. You're looking at the games where, hey, when we have it right, is he taking advantage of what we have? Because we intend to have it right every week in terms of how we call the game. We intend to put our players in a position where there's going to be open opportunities, yards after the catch, things to be taken advantage of, because that's what good football teams and good football programs do. And so I'm glad that you made that point. And that's going to be a very important thing, obviously, for the 49ers this year, because for all the Brock Purdy conversation we had last year, the summation of this is that they didn't play that well around him last year. And whatever you think of him, they have to play better around him this year. It's a must, because the first goal for the 49ers isn't to make Purdy look like an all-pro. It's to win games.
And I'm over the rankings. Like, look, Brock has been paid. And whatever you think he's overpaid, you think he's underpaid, like whatever. Do you think the Eagles fans care where Jalen Hurts is ranked? No, yeah, he's got a Super Bowl ring. And that's where I am with Purdy, man. I'm done with all that talk. I just want him to squeeze all the juice he can out of this offense. Don't leave any meat on the bone. If I had to summarize the biggest difference between Jimmy Garoppolo and Brock Purdy in one sentence, Brock Purdy doesn't leave meat on the bone, and Jimmy Garoppolo was leaving piles of leftovers every freaking week. That's the difference. And if that means that Brock is throwing to the running backs more, I'm fine with it. I don't care. In 2023, Brock Purdy threw a quarter of his targets to running backs, 25%. And guess what? The offense was a damn wrecking ball, and they went to the Super Bowl. You don't get extra credit for throwing it deeper. So I'm over it. I'm over all of that for this year.
The running back's also the best receiver on the team currently.
Yeah, he is. And by the way, speaking of that, he looks pretty damn good. Look at this play the 49ers tweeted out. If you're watching the stream, you could see it. It's Christian McCaffrey running out of the backfield. He does a little jump stop. He throws the hand up, mailbox, and the ball goes over the top, and he snags the end of the football like Pierre Garçon back in the day, and he makes a tumbling catch.
He spins it like him.
Like, he looks fast to me, Vish. I know some people are saying.
Who's 46?
I don't know. I want to look that up really quick. But he burnt him.
Yeah,
I don't know who's wearing 46. It's hard to keep track of all the numbers. Plus, sometimes there's multiple numbers.
Yeah, there will be multiple.
Chaz Surratt or Nick. Yeah, no, Chaz Surratt's wearing 46 because I doubt it was John Weeks. He's a long snapper.
He got straight run by.
And I'll say this, some people were saying Christian McCaffrey looks like he lost a step. I don't know about that. If he lost,
the guy that lost the step was Mr. Chaz over there.
That is beautiful. Throw it to the damn running backs, Brock. That was the biggest thing that he wasn't doing last year, and it was frustrating because there were times where he was throwing interceptions instead of just taking the easy pass to the running back. And he talked about bringing it back, and it looks like he has, and I love it. I think it's only going to lead to good things.
If you think it's going to lead to good things, then what else can I say?
Strawberry React says, I'd say Kittle's a better receiver than Christian McCaffrey. Might be.
See, I knew someone was gonna go there, possibly. Yeah. Maybe routes, pure routes. I don't know that. Uh, yeah,
It's a toss up. It's a good problem to have. Let's debate those two things. Andre
yeah.
says Kyle has his offense fall apart when Christian McCaffrey isn't there, or his offensive line struggles that much without Trent. I mean, they were fourth in yards last year, Andre, and Christian McCaffrey played 4 games. I wouldn't say it falls apart. Are they better with Christian McCaffrey? Yeah, this just in. Every offense will be better with Christian McCaffrey. That's not a Kyle Shanahan specific thing.
Yeah, I think Shanahan is so good, so creative that he accumulates explosive plays in any game, regardless of who his players are.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of being able to make the punctuating plays to define games, like those big third downs, converting in the red zone instead of getting a field goal when you have a really, really strong drive of multiple first rounds, those sorts of things. That's where, yeah, it makes a difference to have great players. But guess what, Rob? That's what football's about. Great players make great plays. Great players are the ones that win you games at the end of the day. Coaching is really important. Coaches equip players. Coaches can prevent players from winning games, but players are the ones who win games.
I heard, I should say, Mina Kimes give this stat with Ben Solak on her podcast, The Mina Kimes Show. They were talking about the top 10 offenses in the league, and she had the Niners at 8. And she pointed out, even as the most injured team in the league last year, the year from hell, right? The Niners were top 10 in DVOA on offense, top 12 in success rate, top 12 in EPA, second in yards per play, and third in percentage of plays over 10 yards. That's without Christian McCaffrey, without Brandon Ayuk for a chunk of the year, without Trent Williams for a chunk of the year. So I don't want to hear that Kyle's offense is figured out or that it falls apart, because it's not true.
You tell him, Rob. I agree with you. But I don't think that's been, there's too big of a sample size to be throwing that take around. The guy has been coaching and calling offense since 2009. So he hasn't been figured out for 16 years. Okay. Like, well, what are we doing here? Come on.
Right, I agree, but I mean, how many, we heard it all the time last year. Kyle's been figured out. Kyle needs to evolve, right? Kyle needs to evolve.
The irony of talking about it that way, right? And I'm not saying we didn't hear it, because I did hear it as well, right? It's a common take. It's just about evolving within that season, because there's no way you call offense in the NFL for 16 straight years without evolving. And if you think he hasn't evolved, go watch what he was calling with Matt Schaub in 2008, because that does not look like the 49ers offense in 2023 or 2024. It's very different. I mean, they weren't putting Matt Schaub ever in the shotgun.
Schaub, not too Schaubby. They were not.
He's a good player, man.
For a minute. Yeah, he absolutely was. But just like, even look at the play action rates, right? Like, they used to be a heavy play action team. They're not anymore. They don't go to play action nearly as much as they did, because they have more faith in Brock Purdy. Like, they are evolving, but people are going to say that, like, he's evolved this year. If they do better in the red zone this year, people are going to be like, oh, look, Kyle evolved. And it's going to be like, no, he's probably running the same stuff. He just got better people doing it.
I think even running the same stuff, right? Like, he can have a better feel. The thing about the red zone, right, Rob, is you get 3 plays maybe on a drive, right? And let's say you go run, and you get 3rd and goal from the 8-yard line. 3rd and goal from the 8-yard line is not a great situation to call a play. And so you can go 4 games into the season and not have a good feel for what my team likes or what works in the red zone, because the way the opportunities worked out just didn't work that way for you. And now you're a quarter of the way into the season already, and you barely have a feel for, of the 6 or 7 things you conceptually wanted to try in the red zone, you don't know which one works or what your team likes or those sorts of things. So calling plays in the red zone can be difficult in general because of this. I think the biggest thing is what Filthy Casual mentioned, right? Like, Shanahan has had a great statistical red zone offense when Christian McCaffrey's on the field. The best thing that you can do in the red zone, to be a good play caller in the red zone is be able to run the football. If you can run the football effectively in the red zone, it's a game changer. And Christian McCaffrey is such a difference maker as a runner and a beater of man coverage. Last year, they were missing Christian McCaffrey, right? The ultimate red zone weapon. Brandon Ayuk, fantastic separator down close in tight areas. That was another guy they missed last year. That's a great red zone weapon you're missing. Deebo Samuel used to be there. Oh, we get near the goal line. Deebo sniffs the red zone. He has that acceleration. He finds the red zone. He lost a step last year. So, yes, their offense might have not had a rhythm. And I'm not going to say like the players were the issue with the offense in 2024, because I established that there's a way that play calling can get thrown off and you just have a bad season calling plays in the red zone because you just don't have a feel or an idea halfway through the year of what you want to do. But they were succeeding in the red zone is most first about the players and the star ones. They're the ones who make those plays. Like some of the touchdowns Deebo scored in earlier seasons or Christian McCaffrey scored in earlier seasons. Yeah, like it was a fine play call. It's really a special acceleration from Deebo, special play from Christian McCaffrey. And that's what they were missing.
And I think the closer you get to the goal line, the less about play calling it is. It's more just about physical ability. Like, how many touchdowns did we see with Christian McCaffrey where he would run, break a tackle that, maybe there wasn't the best blocking, but he breaks a tackle and he gets in, or he bounces off a hit and he twists his way into the end zone. Like, you need players that can do that thing. I'm not totally absolving Kyle. Certainly he can be better in the red zone, but a lot of the times it's just about the freaks that you have there and who can, execute.
No, and that's exactly the point, right? Because red zone play calling, where it gets creative is, I have Christian McCaffrey who you're so scared of running the football. So now we're going to do all of these cool little play actions and gadget variations the way the Chiefs do, right? The Chiefs gadget variations start from what you're so scared of Mahomes moving around and Kelsey moving around and them finding space. And now we're going to move Kelsey around 6 different times and snap it to Blake Bell and he's going to score. But you were really worried about Kelsey on that given play. So it's the play calling variations, and I'm being very, very reductionist from taking these football terms and trying to uncomplicate them. But it starts from being able to do basic things with really great players. And when you're so scared of doing these basic things, now you throw these super creative college-y variations, all of it. But if you're unable to do the basic things, then the creative things look stupid. Why are you trying that? They're not even scared of your basic things. And so that's where it has to start. It has to start from a place of we can run the football effectively in the red zone with Christian McCaffrey. Now, we're at the 8-yard line. We can go play action every time because they're so scared because they know we can get 5 yards from the 8-yard line running the football inside the 10, which is really, really hard to do. And so we're not absolving Kyle, right?
Yes,
but
I agree.
We're giving the players more credit, and we think it'll be improved this year because you have difference makers like Christian McCaffrey, the great red zone player that is George Kittle, and of course, hopefully the return of Brandon Ayuk, who should be the biggest difference maker down there too.
Yeah, I think last year the teams were like, you're going to run in the red zone? Great. We'll play the pass, and we're not worried about – we'll play pass first, and we'll react to the run. And we think we can tackle Jordan Mason before he does anything that's really going to hurt us. Is honestly, I think, how teams approached it. They were terrible running in the red zone last year, particularly the closer they got to the end zone, the worse they got. And hopefully that is going to change this year because, we're going to have some different dudes out there on the field. And if all else fails, Brock and George Kittle in the red zone off script, I feel like they got a little something going on. I feel like a lot of George Kittle's touchdowns in the red zone come off schedule. And I think that he and Brock just have a good feel, and it's going to be easier for George to do that kind of stuff if the other team is also worried about Ayuk and Pearsall and Christian McCaffrey.
And I like that you went there speaking of Brock's athleticism, because if we're talking about play calling, one thing I would like to see more of in terms of the red zone that Shanahan doesn't seem to love, like a McVay, that this seems to be a bigger part of his realm of this style of offense than Shanahan is, moving the quarterback. I like Brock Purdy is an athletic guy, especially down in the low red zone. Like, get him outside of the pocket, like get him away from all the big people around him, all the large hands in his face. The space is so constricted out there. Get him out in space. He's such a natural athlete. He's so good at making guys on the edge. Something I'd love to see more of. I know it cuts the field in half, so some coaches don't always love moving the quarterback because it feels like you're taking space away from already a constricted area. But in my mind, from just watching football on TV and, having a strong opinion from doing that, Rob, I think the 49ers would be good trying that in certain situations.
Right. You're not saying do it every time. You're saying try it out. I'd love to see Brock in space in the red zone. I think he's very hard to tackle one-on-one. I think from 10 yards and in, Brock scrambling and running should absolutely be something the 49ers look to use. You can call a designed run for Brock Purdy at the 5-yard line or the 10-yard line. You can absolutely do it, or an option play or something. I would love to see that utilized a little more. They could do all sorts of crazy stuff. Remember the play? I think it was with Trey Lance, I want to say. I can't remember. But there was a play where it looked like it was going to be a fake quarterback sneak, and then I think that Trey was supposed to pitch it to Juice or to the running back. I forget. It didn't work out. They didn't actually execute it, but it looked like the option was there. And it was like, yes, like that's the kind of stuff I think that they can
did
do.
it. They did it. They did that once with someone else, a fake quarterback sneak, and they pitched it to the fullback out the backside in 2018 with Kyle Juszczyk, and then Sean Payton copied it the very next week. I know what you're talking about. Like there's a lot of creativity, man.
Oh, I knew this was going to come. 415 Faithful says, can't blame him after Trey's ankle. Losing QB1 and Kyle's offense is setting the year on fire, in my opinion.
Sure. And look, he might have his reasons for why he doesn't have bootlegs in his offense, or he has them and he's called them in these areas and they just haven't been effective, and therefore I'm not remembering them. Of course, he has them. I'm talking about in the red zone, that sort of thing. But that's different from running the quarterback. I don't think anybody is saying run Brock Purdy.
I'm not saying you need to run quarterback power with Brock Purdy necessarily, although once in a while
I don't think that's an option.
But like, just because the quarterback runs with the ball doesn't mean he gets hurt. Like, oh, Trey Lance got hurt, so we can never have a quarterback run ever again. Well, guess what? Jimmy Garoppolo got hurt from the pocket all the time. So we're going to take that out of the playbook too. Then what the hell is the quarterback going to do? Just hand off all the time? I mean, come on. We can't play scared here.
Yeah. I also think that with Lance, he felt like he had to run him in terms of what plays he could use him with. And I don't think he feels that way with Brock Purdy, which is his opinion. Who knows?
But the point is, like, you can run the ball with Brock like, every once in a while. I'm not saying 5 times a game.
He runs it himself. He's good at it.
Yeah, and
he's good at beating guys to the edge.
And he's pretty good at avoiding taking a big hit. And once in a while he will, but for the most part, he's pretty good at protecting himself, which I think you do have to factor in if you're going to talk about running a quarterback.
Look, Rob, when we're talking about the best quarterbacks in the league, when push comes to shove, right, 3rd and 8, right, well, what does Josh Allen do? It's 3rd and 8, games on the line for the Buffalo Bills. They put him in empty. They go 3-by-1. Tony Romo goes, Jim, I think they're going to James Cook on this one. What does Josh Allen do, right? He rolls right. That's what the Chiefs always make him do, and he tries to run. That's what he wants to do, or he makes an off-schedule play happen. Mahomes is the magic man in big situations. He sees 2-man. He sees a spy. He does what, Rob? Big situations. He kills teams running.
Always.
Lamar Jackson down the stretch. It is such a game changer for the quarterback. To me, the modern quarterback, where they seem to take the biggest advantage late in games is by using their legs. It's the one thing the defensive coordinator doesn't seem to be able to scheme for when you're trying to take everything away in the pass game late in a game. It's never a bad thing for the quarterback within reason, which Brock Purdy does, to use their legs to be able to change the game and move the sticks.
You put the game in the hands of your best player. And more often than not, the quarterback's going to be your best player on offense. And what your legs can do as a quarterback is you can make the defense wrong no matter what they do. That is what the Bills do. That is what the Chiefs do. They put the game in the hands of their leader and their quarterback, and they say, we'll give you options. Here's some guys you can throw to, or you could run. And nobody is better to me at manipulating those options than Mahomes. Like Mahomes in the Super Bowl on the 4th down play, where if the Niners make the stop, they win the Super Bowl. There was no chance he was not taking the ball. Like That's what the good teams do, and hopefully that's what the 49ers will do with Brock Purdy. Filthy Casual says, Brock's problem is he always dives head first instead of sliding. Eventually he's going to get blown up. I totally disagree with you, Filthy Casual. I think
Because head first is protected too.
And sliding, what happens a lot of times when you slide feet first, what happens? How many times have we seen a defender come in and hit the guy, and then his head bounces off the turf because he gets hit as he's sliding feet first?
Trevor Lawrence.
I mean, it's happened to a million people. I would much rather see Brock Purdy go head first and get down. And by the way, Brock usually doesn't get hit when he slides. So I disagree with that. I think Brock does a fantastic job of getting down and protecting his body.
Yeah, for me, the bigger thing is sometimes he does too much, like tries to use his legs too much. But like when he's like in rhythm and he just runs decisively, it's not like,
Right.
I'm not saying he's scrambling around, he's trying to make plays. It's he doesn't like what he sees. He immediately decides to run and just takes what's in front of him and gets down. It's a really, really effective weapon. It's something I think every quarterback should always have in their back pocket. Like, oh, I don't like what I'm seeing. I'm going to decisively run, like decisively scramble, not run around, do all like I'm going to go and I'm going to get 8 yards and slide.
Right. And sometimes it's 5 yards, sometimes it's 8 yards, but it takes a potentially negative play, turns it into a positive play, and keeps the chains moving. One last thing I wanted to get to, I apologize. I wanted to get to it when we were talking defensive players, but I saw this little nugget from Brad Graham talking about how Robert Saleh is doing some crazy stuff with the defensive line. And Brad says, here's how Robert Saleh is creatively using Mykel Williams. Bosa lined up in the wide 9. Mykel was standing up in the 3 technique. Givens inside shade of the offensive guard, overloading one side. Mykel Williams fake drops into coverage. Bosa crashes inside, and Mykel loops around on the stunt to the outside. I think that they are going to do all sorts of crazy stuff with all these different defensive linemen. I saw one comment from somebody, one of the beat writers, that they basically had Bosa and Mykel Williams on one side of the formation, and then they had Bryce Huff on the other side. Like, they got some freak athletes, and they got a defensive coordinator that's going to move them all around. I think it could be so much fun with the NASCAR packages and all the crazy stuff that they're going to do.
Yeah, 100%. But to me, this wasn't a question because they need to earn the right to be able to do this, which is the bigger question. And I don't want to be negative on your positivity, but we know this. We know they're going to be good at this. The question is, will they improve at what they need to improve, which they have done on paper, which is stopping the run, and earn the ability to get into 3rd and 8. So Robert Saleh can put Mykel Williams and Nick Bosa on the same side over a guard and a tackle and harass them. Or he can create nightmare matchups by overloading one side and lining up Bryce Huff super wide on the other side, and he's just shooting off the ball. And now your quarterback is drifting it right into Nick Bosa, who's engulfing him. Those sorts of things. But you got to get them into 3rd and 8, and that starts with being able to stop the run on 1st down.
Yes, I agree with you, but also how many times did we see the 49ers get the other team in 3rd and long last year, and then it was no problem for the other team to convert 3rd and long because the 49ers defense didn't scare anybody besides Nick Bosa. He was the only one you had to worry about rushing the passer, and it was just way too easy. This year, I don't think that's going to be the case at all. I am not going to be sitting there with my butt cheeks clenched together on 3rd and 8 like I was all year last year.
That's also just having Saleh, right, instead of Sorensen, because you put Saleh with that same personnel, he's not sitting back the whole year if they're getting pieced up that way. He's going to force the issue a little bit more. That's having a guy with experience who's done it and who's frankly not just has experience and has done it. He's one of the best at doing it when he does that job as well. So great point. I agree with you. And that's why, man, having Robert Saleh is such a difference maker.
The 49ers blitzed 19% of the time last year. That was 27th in the NFL. And they rushed 6 guys or more 1% of the time last year. Like, holy...
Do you have their success percentage on their blitzes? Because I don't remember the 19% being that successful either. Because you can blitz 19% of the time, but, have like an 82% success rate on your blitzes and just kick ass.
Well, they were 22nd in pressure rate, which was 32.9%.
Then for the sake of our narrative, can we say they sucked at blitzing even when they did it too?
They weren't that good. They didn't blitz that much, and when they did, they weren't good. They were in nickel 80% of the time, and they rushed 80% of the time. So if you're an offensive coordinator, you pretty much knew what you were going to get with the 49ers. And by the way, being in nickel, they didn't really have a great secondary to have that third corner on the field last year.
Yeah, this year, who do you think's going to win that job? Upton Stout?
I hope so. Nothing against Trey Brown, who, I've seen some good things about here and there, but, that we always want the drafted guys to be the guys, right? There's just something more special about a guy that you draft, especially, Upton Stout, great personality, all that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
As opposed to Trey Brown, who they just signed as a free agent, who, no 49er fan knew who Trey Brown was coming into, before he signed.
Yeah. I already envision Upton Stout as, a 7-year starter, makes the team wall. He's fighting for the 10-year wall, that sort of thing.
Oh, God. So you're saying you're already anticipating the Upton Stout training camp holdout 4 years from now?
No, Upton's a team guy. He's going to sign early. He's going to take a below the market deal.
There you go. Well, look, I'm choosing to be happy on July 28th. The reviews for Mykel Williams were good. The reviews for CJ West were good. Upton Stout's getting praise. Ricky Pearsall back out on the field before the first padded practice. So everybody, can ease up on him. He was getting a lot of hate in my mentions for missing some non-padded practices. He looks good out on the field. Like, if we can't be happy on July 28th, we are in for a bunch of misery, and I'm not here for that. That was last year. This year, I'm here for the positivity.
Oh, real quick, because I wanted to. Mac Jones looks good too. I just wanted to hear you react to that. I didn't really care that much about it. He's backup quarterback. I just wanted to hear you react to it.
I love, by the way, that, I don't have to care that Brock Purdy was 7 of 14 today. I don't care. He's the guy. The contract is signed. I don't care if Mac Jones never throws an incompletion. He ain't starting.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with Jones is they actually have a decent backup quarterback again, which is great. But that's about it with Jones. Yeah,
right.
I just wanted to hear you react.
He's not Brandon Allen. That's what I like about Mac Jones.
Well, yeah, Brandon Allen stinks.
Exactly.
Mac Jones is a top 5 backup in the league.
Better backup quarterback, Mac Jones or Jimmy Garoppolo?
Mac Jones, dude.
By the way,
because it's your point about the backup, right? Like, the backup can't be such an injury risk before we even get into the playing.
Yep. And the Rams, I mean, Matthew Stafford's back is an issue. He was not practicing. They hope he's back next week. He's week to week, Sean McVay said. I know
it's always, dude.
Everybody's gassing up the Rams, and I get it. Their young defense looks good. Matthew Stafford threw the same amount of touchdown passes as Brock Purdy last year, and Brock Purdy's whole offense was decimated. Brock Purdy, even in his worst season, put up more touchdowns than Matthew Stafford did last year. 25 total as opposed to only 20 for Stafford. The Rams are going to be good. I get that. But everybody's like making it, just handing the division to them. We got to see. Let's slow down with the Rams love.
The two things with Stafford. One, he's been dealing with this back, I want to say, since 2016. It comes and goes. I think he gets that injection and then his back goes numb for like a couple months and he'll throw it great for a couple months. And then there'll be like a month where they'll say Stafford has bad ribs. That always comes up somewhere in December. Stafford has bad ribs. And like, you were like, wait, I watched the Rams play in November and man, Stafford looked like at 37, he's never thrown it better. And 2 weeks later, like Stafford looks like he needs to retire. Like he looks like he's in pain. He's dropping back. He's getting hit. His ankle is now getting messed up because his ankle always gets messed up when he gets hit, that sort of thing. So this back is going to be Stafford's thing. He's going to deal with it. It's going to be healthy at points in the season. It's not going to be healthy. And I'm glad you brought it up because at this point in his career, he does get very streaky. And I know that I like Stafford a lot. I follow him. I know this better than anybody. He gets really streaky. And to me, my new theory is that it's directly not my new theory, my working theory, my lasting theory is that it's correlated with this back injury. There are moments where it just gets really bad and he's not throwing it. He's not throwing it down the field. He's always tough, but he's not that good when the back is affecting him. And that's why when you look at him over the course of a season, there's like a 7-game, 8-game portion of the season where you think he's one of the 3-4 best quarterbacks in the NFL in that year. But there's also 5 games in that year where you're like, That's why he ended up kind of middle of the road statistically. And I thought he was one of the 4 or 5 best guys.
If you have ever had a back injury, which I don't know if you have, Vish, I have a different.
I'm young, Rob. I'm 25, knock on wood.
Let me tell you, it can be completely incapacitating, like completely and utterly, and it can all of a sudden flare up. It is a very dicey thing, and Matthew Stafford has a lot of mileage on the tire. For all the talk, oh, Christian McCaffrey's got, I get all that. Matthew Stafford has been beat to hell. He's one of the toughest
it's not even close. It's not even close. Like when you look at all the injuries and all the different things that he's had, it's actually amazing. Like he has one of those, like when you say in football, what's iconic, what's an iconic thing, Stafford's arm it's a golden thing because he's broken off his fingers, torn his shoulder, messed up his back, hernia, ribs, everything. And somehow even oh my God, does he still throw it as good as anybody? So
touched by the gods. Unbelievable.
Yep.
Like when people like talking about arm talent. That's the phrase that they use. But holy crap, does he have it? Like still the arm strength is absurdly good with all the hits and all the
and it's not even close to his like when he first came into the league, it was effortless bazooka cannon. And you're right.
Yeah, that's the word for it. Yeah, it's crazy that like someone could have such a gift in one particular area that it's like, but you know what? Like for some of those guys, I'll never forget Dan Marino was playing in a touch flag football game on a beach. And it was like 10 years after he retired. And he was ripping the ball, like launching it the length of the field, just throwing dots all over the place. Some guys, like they just have it and it's just there forever.
The true, like the ones it's like truly just natural and it never goes. Like even for Brady, right? Even at the end of all things that he could still throw it.
Yeah. And there's a difference. Like Drew Brees. Now I know Drew Brees had a devastating injury.
It left.
Special arm, but he admits it. He couldn't throw at the end of his career, and he literally cannot throw a ball with that arm now. And that's not to discredit him, but some guys just keep it, and it never goes. Yeah. Oh God, Peyton Manning. Although he also
both. Eli also wasn't throwing it the same at the end. Eli was a great thrower in his prime.
Another guy that got beat to hell and was tough as nails. Both Mannings were tough. Eli was, my God. I'll never
Let me ask you this.
The 11 NFC Championship game where Eli got destroyed and somehow beat them.
Do you have a bigger appreciation when you evaluate sports as an adult? I'm an adult too, but as I've gone into adulthood, I've had a bigger appreciation for this, for just consistency and availability. I used to be such a, oh, this guy's more talented. This guy had a higher peak. I've really come around to, like, for example, I'd say it with golf now. Like, I'm never the biggest golf fan. I've never been the biggest golf fan. I think Detroit, like, that's a team to fade this year. You look at their offensive line, the amount of change that's coming there, losing Frank Ragnow. Oh, I like fading Detroit. I don't think they're going to be that good. That's one for the people. I'm not going to put my money on it, but if you put your money on it and they do well, come back and let me know and maybe take me out to dinner. If it happens poorly, you didn't get that from me. Anyway, 9 years now, Rob, he's been a starter in the NFL. Like, and that's hard to do. It's very competitive. It's hard to keep your job, the physicality, the attrition that goes into it. Yeah. Long story short, it's a question to you. Do you have a greater appreciation for that sort of thing? Or are you like, it is what it is? Like some people are more consistent, successful.
No, I think consistency, people like to knock it, but they act like it's a given. It's not a given, and health doesn't just happen. And it's not to knock anybody that gets hurt, because you obviously, like Brandon Ayuk, there's nothing Brandon Ayuk did that could have prevented his injury. He got hurt because somebody crashed into his knee. That's just physics. But also, because it's not like you don't get banged up playing football. It's not like the guys that don't get hurt just happen to avoid. No, they get hit, they get hurt, they get banged up, but you know, they also take care of their body and rest and recover and all that stuff. So I don't just, the older I get, the more I appreciate. I think as my body breaks down, despite no physical activity whatsoever, I have a greater appreciation for the ones that don't in the most extreme setting of physical activity.
Yeah, and you brought up Eli. He was really what made me ask you that. And the reason was, right, younger, I used to discredit Eli a lot more than I do today. It's not that I think higher of him as a quarterback today than I did when I was younger. I just have a greater appreciation for things in his career that I didn't have appreciation for when I was younger, like dealing with the Giants and that whole situation, and not necessarily great ownership as we've seen. Or I don't think Jerry Reese was the greatest GM. And to your point, just the consistency of starting and year in, year out being the same person, those sorts of things. I don't think they make him a better quarterback, but I also don't think those are easy things for human beings to do. And so that's why when you brought it up, I was like, yeah, I have bigger appreciation. He was a good player.
Don't take it for granted, for sure. By any, and all-time dude. Love Eli Manning as a person. Just an all like
Purdy
great.
seems to have that, right? If we're talking about like something, don't take it for granted. Like back-to-back years, he's come in year out, been the guy from start to finish, answered all the questions, answered the bell every single game, that sort of thing, or just almost every single game.
New dad, Brock Purdy. Congratulations. Welcoming a daughter into the world.
Making us all look bad at 25, Brock. Come on.
I'm just saying, this is the
Some
year
of us
that
are still establishing ourselves.
This is the year that Brock Purdy could have, right? New contract, new daughter, Super Bowl champion in his own stadium. I mean, talk about a year and capping a year of your, like, that's it. Just retire after that. You're never.
All right. Slow down, Rob. He doesn't need to be that successful at 25. Okay, Rob? Okay.
Hey.
If he wasn't the same age as me, if he was maybe a year older, there wouldn't be a problem. But no, I'm kidding. Like, yeah, that's pretty amazing. It's astounding what he's accomplished. And it's a good life example, right? Like, this was really, like, everybody has brought it up so many times, but this was the last pick in the draft at 22 years old. And look at where he is at 25 years old. It's a great example of how being committed and honest and, looking for things and, setting your mind to things can look at what the world can give you and what you can accomplish. Way to go, Brock Purdy. And thank you, Cynthia. That's so nice.
Cynthia says, no reason to rush things, Vish. Just keep doing you. I know I'm going to make you mad, but I was married at 23. I got married super young, though, and it's not a race. But anyway, go, Brock.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you tell him, Rob. You tell him. You were ready to go at 20. Like, what were you doing at 23, Brock?
Yeah, that's
not
right.
Married, were you?
God, I had a first kid at 29, though, so I waited to have the family.
Okay, you beat him there, Brock. It's 1-1.
So, and he also, I'm still waiting to get my $265 million contract. So
next year, Rob, next year.
Right.
He beat you on it, but it's not about who gets it first. It's about getting it.
Right. Yeah. Next year it's coming, I'm sure. Anyway, that's going to do it for this edition of the show. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Like this video, subscribe to the channel. If you're new to the channel, I know we got a lot of new people watching because the season's starting up. Thank you for joining us. Subscribe. I promise you'll like it. Normally, this show is going to be a breakdown of the game on Sunday. Normally, what Vish and I do is we go drive by drive through the game and break down what happened and why and where they went wrong or where they went right. It's one of my favorite shows of the entire week. So that's normally what we do. Obviously, with no games, we change it up a little bit. But that is the plan once the preseason and the regular season starts. So please come back next Monday and check us out. I promise you will like what you see. Vish, I hope you have a fantastic rest of your Monday night.
Thank you, Rob. You too. Goodbye.